On today's episode, I'm going to cover the most legendary phasers ever made, the OGs of phase. Here are the rules, because we're going to have rules. No new phasers. It's going to be the classics, the ones that started it all, and we're not talking about phaser guns. None of this stuff. Phaser is important, and we're going to go through what started it all. It's kind of like in the 70s. Phaser was to guitar what that West Coast whistle thing was to Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. With that said, let's just get started into our first pedal before this goes further downhill. This all starts in 1967, Japan, when someone designs the Univibe. A company called Honey created it first. They become Shinai. You see these made by Univox as well. But it's all the same company rebranding it. And this ends up on the board of Jimi Hendrix. It ends up being this effect, the first effect that made modulation move through a guitar signal at your feet. Really important. A lot of people say it's a chorus. It actually says chorus. Some people say it's a vibrato. It says vibrato, but at its heart, it's a phaser. And what a phaser does is it knocks your signal out of phase, puts it back in phase, and that creates this swooshing, dare I say, whooshing sound that we've grown to love. So this is the OG. There's an episode called Univibe 101. I don't need to play this because you can go over there and just learn everything you need to know, but we're gonna just throw a little tip of the hat to this and let you hear it real quick, like. We get out of the 60s and the 70s brings on what we know as an actual phaser. So it's not quite the Univibe, even though that phases, and it evolves into this brand new form of knocking it in and out of phase. More controlled, a little more smooth, and a lot more complex as a circuit. The very first people to do this, you know, they're testing the waters, and one of those companies is Eventide with this unbelievable, amazingly good-looking rack unit. It's the PS101. I don't have it, but there's a picture right there, so let's stare at the picture together. When this thing came out in 1971, it was $575. This is insane. This is car money, but look how good it looks. I mean, what's the conversion?
It's like $3,500.
$3,500. You can buy a nice used Toyota Corolla, 100,000 miles. You could buy a Maestro Mini-Van. Now we have also in 1971 what we consider the first guitar-specific phaser effect, the OG guitar phaser. It's not a pedal, but it is a pedal. It actually has a microphone mount here. We put it up on the mic stand. The Maestro Phase shifter. I do think it's amazing that they released the first pedal ever, the Maestro Fuzz Tone, and then they have dibs on first phaser effect as well. This is designed by Tom Oberheim. Oberheim is a genius. He is one of the greatest minds in the synthesizer world, and he invented this effect. So we can say Oberheim invented guitar phase shifting. He did it from within the synthesizer world and how those circuits work. So you could say, without synths, phasers wouldn't make any sense.
Good one.
1973-74, we see Oberheim doing another phase unit. He had designed the one you just saw for Maestro, but he has his own thing going on, and they look like this, Oberheim Electronics Inc. This is one of the hardest phasers and pedals period to find anywhere. This one's not mine, and I want to give a big thanks to Jamie for letting me borrow this. You know who you are, you know how important you are, and you know how much better you are than anyone else watching this episode right now. You're basically the most amazing person in the world, because I've always wanted to try this. It's fantastic. Now, you might not have seen this one, but you've probably seen the same thing labeled Maestro with a different paint color, like in the picture. I have the Octave Box here from the same series. He basically made all of these, and you could buy them as Maestro or him, but he made them all and just painted the Maestro versions different and shipped them to Maestro. So let's play this. It's wonderful. I love the aesthetic. It's very IBM, and that's good for Phasor. We have a lot of phasers to cover, and we're kind of at the tip of even getting started. So I just want to ask you a question just to spice things up. What does Phasor have to do with the August 15th, 1974 issue of Rolling Stone, where Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young make a comeback? Steely Dan comes up swinging. There's a Rolling Stone interview with Glenn Gould, and it has a section called Unhappy Hookers Unite. What does it have to do, you ask? Well, let me tell you. The very first MXR ad ever. MXR Innovations. We are here. Possibly the greatest opening statement of any company ever. Here it is. The MXR Phase 90 script. I did a really big deep dive into these, so go check out that episode. The link is in the description below. We play all the first MXRs. There's also the Phase 100. And you have the Phase 90 block logo that comes in the later 70s. We're gonna play this one, but first, you just gotta know, Keith Barr, the designer of this, was an actual genius, just like Oberheim was an actual genius. There are a lot of geniuses involved in phasers. I don't know if it was something in the 70s, it just happened to be that Phasor was something people wanted, these geniuses are delivering, I don't know, but just know, Keith Barr, MXR, genius. Now, they're from Rochester, New York. This comes out, changes the game. It's the very first, what I like to call color-coded effect. Because of this, Phasor is orange in our minds. You can't argue with me about that. You could, but you'll lose. Phasor's orange. Yeah, we just need to play it. I think we need to do like a country kind of hoedown, Waylon Jennings, Oklahoma, Muskogee, kind of like just go for it. Maybe?
Yeehaw!
Now that you've enjoyed that jam, and I know you, I read your thoughts, you're saying, there's a Phase 90 on his shirt. And you've been noticing this the whole time. It's an idea I had. It's a shirt called It's Just a Phase. And this is why this is important. We're using probably the greatest, most well-known phaser of all time. But we're saying it's just a phase because a lot of you have loved ones, and those people worry about you. They see how much money you spend on Reverb and eBay, They see you going to pawn shops. They see you making excuses for where you were when you were trying to find a pedal. You're addicted. And you need to embrace that addiction and look at your loved ones dead in the eyes and say, hey, don't worry about me. It's just a phase. Let's go across the ocean to London because things were happening there as well. And one of the most happening things ever in the early 70s effects world was the brand Colorsound. One of my favorite companies. Sound evolved into this. Look at these graphics. Look at this. This is the Phase X. Here's the problem. It's broken. I'm realizing that doing this episode, as I pulled out like 150 phasers onto the table and tried to play them, a lot of them are broken. So this is going to have to go into repair. You're never going to hear it, at least not today. But I also have the Super Phase. The Super Phase is a phaser on a treadle. It's like a mixture of a guitar effect and a toaster. It functions about the same way. It's kind of clunky, but we're going to basically at least let you hear it. That's all I have to offer. I'm not even inspired because I'm so bummed that this is broken. So all you're going to get is my sadness. This is where things really start launching off. We're still in 74 or 75. Honestly, nobody knows. I've asked the people who actually designed this stuff, and people obviously were not focused on remembering anything, and I forgive them for that. It's fine. Electro-Harmonix, New York City. Design engineer named Dave Cockrell, who did some of the most important designs ever. Huge Electro-Harmonix engineer. Comes up with the Badstone phase shifter. I have a lot to say. First off, this is an ugly pedal. I don't not like pedals ever, but this is ugly. Can I love something that's ugly? Yeah, I can. What is this logo? It's like a mummy face? Mummy face man? It's broken, but this was the first version. I'm not upset. I thought it worked. Then you have this, which looks a million times better. You know, it's Badstone. It's broken as well. I can't get it to work. So both my Badstones are broken. So we're going to move on from that. I'm just going to say the Badstone is a 6-stage phaser. So phasers have different stages, meaning different amounts of phase gain stages. The one you're most familiar with from Electro-Harmonix is the small stone. It's a four stages of phase. Here's the first version. That's beautiful if you ask me. Minimal, simple, crisp, clean, mild, beautiful. There's some different versions. This look, everyone's seen this. Let's play the OG and let's just keep phasing our brains out. We got to keep going or we'll never get through this. We're in it together. Let's do it. Next up is a pedal from Boss before Boss was Boss. Think about that. It's deep. It is called the Jet Phaser AP7. They had a few things. They had this one. I debated the Phase 5. This is like an envelope controlled phaser, so the harder you pick, it phases with an envelope on the front. It's cool, but it's not as dramatic in this, and I'm always going to go for drama. I let drama lead me, as should you. You have what's called jet. But before I explain that, you just need to know when you hit fast or slow, it gives you 2 speeds. You set your slow rate, hit fast, you have a faster rate. So I'll demonstrate that. Then in the mode here, you have phase 1 and 2. So 2 vibes of phase. I think it goes between different stages, more or less stages. Not sure, but I think that's what it does. Then 1, 2, 3, and 4 are jet. Jet is a fuzz. A fuzz in a phase pedal placed before the phase. It's pure madness in the best way. And there's a box for this. There is a box. It's tagged box. Can you run? Get the box. There's a box for this one.
I'm gonna get the box.
Get the box!
I'm getting the box!
You have the box?
Go get it!
Look at this. It's dusty, but I love it. Hold on. It's not the same. It needs to live in the box. I didn't know we had the box. Okay, look. I have the box.
He has the box.
And then you take it out of the box. Smell the box. Love the box. What does a traffic light have to do with Phasor? Well, I'm glad you asked. It has everything to do with Phasor. Because traffic lights are red, yellow, green. And in 1977, Roland Boss launched the compact series, the Traffic Light Trio. I just coined that name. We're going to put it online, make it famous. Traffic Light Trio. PH1, 4-stage Phasor. These are reissues, but I'm going to put those over here. And we're going to play the real one. There's also a PH1R. They added a resonance. Here we go. Next up comes from 1977 or so, I think. Having a hard time on this date. If you know, let me know. Mu-Tron Phasor. It's actually the Phase 2, which means there's a Phase 1 that I don't have. I'm okay with that.
I don't have this pedal, and I'm gonna say that. I just have to have that pedal.
Feedback depth rate. This is where people start to say, I understand the simple phase, but what if we start adding a ton more things to it? You got that jet phase craziness. You got this. I have some original literature here that you need to see. Stevie Wonder, big endorser. This was his favor. This was his favor. It. This was Stevie Wonder's favorite Phasor, apparently. Under $100 synthesizer effects. I actually think they're straight up marketing these to synth and keys players, hence Stevie Wonder, and the use of saying synthesizer effects. Here's one. Deep rotating spatial sound, Mu-Tron Phasor. There's some complicated math equation. Yep, block diagrams. Oh, is this a sales receipt? Nick, look, sales receipt.
Wow.
This was $129 list price. $77.97 if you bought 2. If you bought 3, guess how much they were, Nick?
I don't know.
$64.98.
Wow.
That's 50% off.
Wow.
I feel like you're making fun of me.
I'm not.
Look at this. Synthesizer effects. New, sophisticated, versatile, utilizing the latest in music synthesis techniques. Small enough to be a mini synthesizer. I do want to say that jam was awesome, but but that pedal weighs like 900 pounds and they're hard to find. Mu-Tron actually still makes stuff. It was rebooted by this really awesome guy. These are worth looking into if you like this stuff. Lot of features like CV in and out controls. Just check it out, trust me. The foot switch goes from 4 to 6 stages. On to the next one. Next up is the first Phasor I ever owned. Comes to us from the great city of Salt Lake City, Utah. And it is the DoD Phasor. There's several models. The 401, the 201, the 490. This is the first one I owned. But then there's a better looking 490. So it's going to get played because it looks better. I do have, not wanting to brag, I never want to brag, but I have an actual original dealer sheet. Let me just read what it says about this. The DoD Phasor is a standard phasing unit with up to 720 degrees of phase shift. It's a lot of degrees, controls for speed and phase, and a foot switch. It makes the 490 a reliable unit. That was a good jam. It reminds me of a song. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. Let me know in the comments what was going on there. What was that melody line from? But here's an interesting thing post that subject is the fact that I used this 490 in the episode rebuilding my pedal board from Y2K. They're both 490s, but they sound nothing alike. I hadn't played this one in a while. This sounds very much what you just heard, like a Univibe. It's actually going up and dipping really quick through the waveform. And this is good. This could be my favorite because I like Univibe so much. And it's like an excuse to have a Univibe that says Phasor. So just, that's a pro tip. I don't know. Find that one with the weird yellow printing. Next up, we have from the mid-80s, a pedal that Zach Vex of ZVex said in an interview, this is the greatest pedal of all time. That's huge. Zach Vex is awesome, and he's saying this is the greatest effect of all time. Here it is. I have the box.
He has the box.
The Pearl Effector PH44 Phasor. Here it is. From Japan, Pearl, yes, that's Pearl, the drum company. They also were a distributor and maker of different things. And in this case, these funky little pedals that have little push buttons. We have a lot of controls, manual feedback like you see on a flanger, but now in a Phasor. The 80s are getting crazy, and they're saying, let's go to Crazy Town. Slow and fast is kind of like a Leslie ramp style thing. So I'll demonstrate that. I don't know the date. If you know the date, let me know the date, because I want to do a thing on this whole series. I have a ton of them. If you have any of these, let me know. Let me know their whereabouts. Here we go. Of these legendary OG Phasors comes from the year 1999. So in the words of Prince, we're about to party like it's 99. And I choose this last because 1999 is the end of a century. It's, 20 years ago, 21, 22 years. Math's hard, I don't know. And this is where we're ending. Maybe we do modern Phasors later. But the end of the OG legendary Phasors ends today on maybe one of the first really crazy modern phasers. And it comes from this Ibanez series called Tone Lock. We have the PH7 phaser in the Tone Lock. We have the AP7, which for some reason is ungodly expensive. I don't know why. And it was hard to find. I have no idea. And a third phaser. So there are 3 phasers in the series. So in '99, I think Phase was hitting a point of mass consumption. We had this brand and this line basically being repped by bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit. Like they were the poster children on these ads. And then we have the PM7. The PM7 is what we're going to play. It's going to end us off here. It's wild, it's crazy, it's not normal, but it's legendary and still old enough to make the list. It has different waveforms, different modes, and we're going to start off on a normal triangle waveform. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to start off on a square wave phaser. Square wave phaser. It's weird. It's amazing. Then we're going to go triangle. And then we're going to go to this saw waveform. And I just want to warn you, we went somewhere we've never gone musically as a band. I feel like we're going to get signed. We had to cut it short for this clip. But if you hang around to the very end, I mean, so far at the end of the episode that you've almost given up, you're going to hear pure artistry. Honorable mentions that need to be brought up because they're super cool. The Univox Micro Phase from 1975. These are made in Japan, probably by Shinai. Not sure. There's a lot of versions of this. Basically, if you ever see an old vintage phaser with a slight slope and one knob on the right side, right side, it's all the same thing. I like the name of this, Black Gold. The Kent Black Gold. There's also a version for St. Louis Music Supply called the Sweeper. Yeah, bunch of versions of this. It's really classic, really nice. Then we have from London 1977, a really unique brand. I want to do a bio on these eventually. Top Gear. They're made in the back of a music store around Denmark Street. The Funky Phaser. They also made just a normal phaser, but it's not as exciting as the Funky Phaser. So check those out. We have 1978 Maxon Phase Tone. You can find this with the Ibanez label or the Maxon label. And then the last honorable mention is going to be the Classic 10 series. These are amazing from Ibanez. PH10 or the BPL. They're the same exact phaser, just different reboots because one didn't sell better, so they changed the colors. That's how the world works sometimes. Let's go to record time, and remember, check this shirt out. Don't forget it. Don't forget this shirt. You need it. You need to make a statement. Today's record time is brought to you by 1998's Yield by Pearl Jam. This record brings back a lot of memories. This was in my high school, in a band, creating music and learning a lot about life prime. I love this record. I think it's one of the most hated Pearl Jam records, and it's one of my favorites. It's super artsy, it's super weird. You can tell they don't care, and you can tell they're having fun. The guitar tones are fantastic. Brendan O'Brien produces this, so all the classic Brendan O'Brien drum tones. The vocals are raw. I think a lot of it's like SM58, live takes. It's just such a good record. Favorite tracks are Brain of J, Do the Evolution, super cool, Low Light, all those yesterdays. But the reason I'm holding it up is the song Given to Fly. It was a pretty popular radio single, and it is a beautiful use of Phasor. Awesome riff, awesome melody, and the Phasor makes it move. It's one of those things where if you turn that effect off, the song loses all of its goodness, you could say. So check it out, Pearl Jam Yield, and let me know what you think about it. If you haven't heard this as a Pearl Jam fan, a lover of Pearl Jam, check it out, give it a chance. And let me know your favorite songs with Phasor. What are they? Who's the person? Yeah, it's a pretty good record time. Thanks so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to get notifications of all future episodes. Be sure to check out thejhsshow.com, where you can get shirts like this one that dropped today, and other stuff you don't really need but you want. And that's why we need stuff, because we want it. And there's a Patreon. Check that out in the link in the description below. Have a wonderful day. Go play some Phase.